Hello, everybody. I am Tony D. Welcome back to Tony D's new channel. And today, I thought with all the wonderful hoopla surrounding the news of the Rubber Soul Deluxe Super Box set, I would do what I enjoy doing and give you my review and all my thoughts on the classic masterpiece that is the Beatles album Rubber Soul. Now, first of all, this is the sixth UK album from the Beatles, and I should tell you all that I've had the album in my collection and in my thoughts since I was at least 12 years old, maybe 13. I think I was 12 years old, and I just remember that my dad bought the album on CD, the UK version, and then I took that CD and put all those songs on my iPod, and I listened to it constantly. And I distinctly recall being maybe 20 years old, maybe 19, and just listening to the Rubber Soul album on my bike, a three-wheel bike, and playing Rubber Soul on my iPod, and I just had this feeling of complete euphoria because of this album. I mean, so many wonderful memories that have to do with all the songs on this classic album. Now, I do want to tell you some background info about the album and the making of it first. Now, as I mentioned before, this was the sixth Beatles album from the UK, of course, since I don't really count all the compilations from the Capitol US record label, because the Beatles and George Martin, they didn't have any say in what those albums were, so I'm not going to count those. But this was the second album of the year 1965. Now, if you know anything about the Beatles, you know that that year was extremely hectic for the group. They just released Help, their fifth album, and really their second film soundtrack. And they were constantly touring America and many other countries. And they made their second motion picture called Help. And Help is 100% different from the first film, A Hard Day's Night. A Hard Day's Night is kind of a comedy musical film in a similar style to the Marx Brothers, but Help was meant to be this parody of the James Bond films that were so enormously popular at the time. And if you read Drew Kessler's book, Volume 5, about John Lennon, she just, that book discusses what John dealt with in making that film. And if you get the book Act Naturally, that book discusses what the Beatles did to make this film. And in both those books, you learn that it was a horrible experience that the Beatles had in making that film, because the Beatles didn't even get the scripts for this film before it was made. I believe they would just get the scenes for that day's, the script for that day's scenes, and then you have to go with it. And sometimes not even that. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen the entire Help film, so I can't speak to how much I like it or not. But anyway, also in that year, the Beatles played a concert, I think two concerts, at the Shea Stadium, the famous baseball stadium in New York. And all that is to say that they were extremely busy in '65, and they didn't spend as much time making this album that they took making the album Help or Hard Day's Night. And as I was telling you all earlier about the Rubber Soul Deluxe box set, there aren't that many outtakes. There are instrumental outtakes, but there aren't that many other kinds of outtakes. However, The one thing you should always know about the four Beatles, it's that even when they're under pressure, to quote Freddie Mercury and David Bowie, even when they're under pressure, they still bring in the goods. And Paul McCartney especially. There's a story about how he wrote that song 6 o'clock in about 2, 3 days for Ringo Starr. That's amazing. And so this album, I believe, was recorded in October and November '65, which is amazing. So let's get right down and talk about the songs, shall we? First up, of course, on the UK version of Rubber Soul is Drive My Car, which they tell us right here has Paul and John with George on lead vocals, and Paul is playing piano. Now, Drive My Car started off with a silly song where Paul's singing, "Oh, I can give you diamond rings and things." And then John thought that was crap. So they, of course, changed it around to a song about a guy who's trying to get with this woman who wants to be a famous actress. Asked the girl what she wanted to be. She said, "Baby, can't you see? I want to be famous, a star on the screen, but you can do something in between." And the Beatles, being as cheeky as they were, something in between is sexual activity, of course, which I, as a 12-year-old boy, knew nothing about. And then many years later, I realized I read about how that's a sexual innuendo, and I was shocked. Shocked there's an idea. I love Drive My Car. It's one of those. It's you know the Beatles. The Beatles songs really do appeal to anybody of any age, any gender, any race, any sexuality, any religion, anything. And Drive My Car is a song that children and adults can both love so much. Because as I said, I loved it when I was 12 years old and didn't know that it had a sexual connotation to it. I loved it anyway. And I'm sure there are young teenagers and younger kids who listen to it on the radio or hear it when they go see Paul in concert, and they just absolutely dig it. To them, they don't know that "Drive My Car" is a sex term. Yeah, see, when you think about it in that way, it has a different meaning to it. That right? But also, I really do like how in the song the woman is dominant sexually because she's telling the man, um, you know, I want to be a famous movie star, but you can do something for me. You can drive my car, as in be her chauffeur. So he's being subordinate to her, whereas she's being in the dominant position here. And I think we know that she's both dominant in the bedroom and he's subordinate in the bedroom. Drive My Car is a song that I believe Paul would open his concert with for many decades. Now, when I saw Paul in '05, he opened the show with Magical Mystery Tour, but I think he's been changing it up after that. Anyway, let's get to track number 2, and that is Norwegian Wood, a song that also has sexual innuendo to it. Now, like I said before, I've known this album since I was 12, 13 years old, and I remember being 13 years old, and I didn't like this song at all because I didn't know what it was about. I had no earthly idea at that age that Norwegian Wood was John singing about in a fairy head with a woman. But anyway, it starts off, "I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. She asked me to stay, and I noticed there wasn't a chair. So I looked around, and she told me to sit anywhere. I told her I worked in the morning and started to laugh. She told me she didn't and drew me a bath. So So I lit a fire. Isn't it good? Norwegian wood. Another song that is so classic because of its lyrics and its revealing nature. And the first track where George Harrison explored Indian music by playing the sitar in a beautiful, beautiful solo. And like Drive My Car, it paints the woman character in a very positive, domineering light because she's the one that's dictating the affair that she has with John, not the other way around. Although it's possible at the end of the song, he's singing Norwegian Wood, I lit a fire, isn't it good? The fire could be multiple things. It could be lit a fire as in lit the fireplace and then the two of us had sex. It could be lit the fire as in a metaphorical fire for my desire and then we, you know, had some fun. Or it could be that he burned her house down out of spite because she wouldn't have sex with him. It could be any of those things. And I do like that John and Paul left it vague in that sense. I really do like that. Oh wow. Oh John. Oh Paul. I love both of you, and I love your cheeky sexual lyrics. And one of my favorite things about Rubber Soul is that this was a period in Paul's life where he became a bit irate with his girlfriend Jane Asher because she was a famous actress, and he wanted her to settle down with him, get married, have kids. She just wanted to focus on her career as an actress. So she told him that she would be staying in London and continuing to star in the play. I think it was Hamlet, maybe. I'm not sure about that. But she didn't want to see him because she was obsessed with her career. And he took out his anger on two of the songs on this album. And one of the songs that we released on a single in that same month, December 55. You Won't See Me, and I'm Looking Through You, and We Can Work It Out are all about Paul and Jane's relationship issues. You Won't See Me is just absolutely dynamite. It's killer. When I called you up, our lines engaged. I have heard enough, so act your age. Now that's a very odd lyric, act your age, because I'm pretty sure she was a year or so older than him, and neither of them were past the age of 25. And if you're younger than 25, your mind is not fully developed, so you're not acting in the most mature sense. But it's a weird thing to say act your age when you're just 23. I know Paul always felt like he was older than he was inside, but he still wasn't that mature. I have heard enough, so act your age. We have lost the time that was so hard to find, and I will lose my mind if you won't see me, you won't see me, you won't see me. And that's where we get George and John with their beautiful, beautiful background harmonies. Oh, so fantastic, those two of them are. Time after time, you refuse to even listen. I wouldn't mind if I knew what I was missing. Though the days are few, they're filled with tears. And since I lost you, it feels like years. Yes, it seems so long, 'cause it's since you've been gone. And I just can't go on if you won't see me, you won't see me, you won't see me. I wouldn't mind if I knew what I was missing, but I can't get through, my hands are tied. I have lost, we have lost the time that was so hard to find, and I will lose my mind if you won't see me. You won't see me. Yeah, again, one of those songs where everything that's so great about the four Beatles is just at its best. Ringo's drumming is fantastic. George and John are just stunning with the background vocals and the harmonies. And of course, Paul's lyrics I think are fantastic. Like I said, why would you say act your age when you're not even 25 yet? I'm the one who should be telling people to act their age when they're older than me, not, I'm 35, so if I'm telling someone at your age, I've my mind's fully developed. And yeah, I love You Won't See Me so much. I'm pretty sure that I've seen Paul do it in concert. I've seen him live 3 times. I think he played in concert, but he did play a different song also about Jane this album that I'll get to later. Anyway, now to track 4, Nowhere Man. Now, there have been a number of singer songwriters who have composed a song after they just put their head down on their desk and then all of a sudden the lyrics just come to them. I was watching the VH1 Classic show, Classic Albums, all about Phil Collins' first album, Face Value, and he told a story about how he wrote the song In the Air Tonight, and that's how he did it. He just put his head down, closed his eyes, and then all those words just came to him. All the words in the song In the Air Tonight. I remember, I remember the worry, worry, how could I ever forget? Well, I tell you that because John Lennon has told a story about how he wrote the song Nowhere Man in the very same fashion, where he was just having writer's block, and then he just sat his head down for a moment to nap or something, and then these words just came to him about a nowhere man. And if you're like me, you know the film Yellow Submarine inside and out, backwards and forwards, and you know it very well because in that classic animated film, there's a whole song and dance sequence with the song Nowhere Man in there because they meet a character named Jeremy Boob who described himself as a nowhere man, and then this song is playing. And Nowhere Man is just so great. He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, thinking all his nowhere thoughts for nobody. Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? Nowhere man, please listen. Nowhere man, the world is at your command. He's a real nowhere man, just sees what he wants to see. Isn't he a bit like you and me? And like I was saying before with You Won't See Me, just absolutely wonderful harmonies from from Paul and George and John in the background. Paul's playing the piano. Their trusty friend and roadie, Mal Evans, is playing organ, Hammond organ. Uh, and it's one of those very philosophical songs by the Beatles. What does it mean to be a nowhere man? I mean, I've been wondering this question since I first heard the song when I was very young. I really related to the song when I was that young, feeling like I belonged nowhere, like there was nobody that I connected to or related to, and that's how I think of a nowhere man. I would say someone doesn't feel that they have found their place in the world, doesn't feel they found a tribe that they fit into, and you could say that about John Lennon for sure. He wrote even more about feeling alienated in the world in the song "Remember If You Will Forever," And then in the song Isolation in his solo career, that's a different story. But I absolutely adore Nowhere Man. Oh, I love it so much. And then we get to the first of two George Harrison penned songs on the album, Think for Yourself. And it has this fantastic fuzz box guitar where I think he played guitar and then they fed it through a speaker or something. And that's like the effect. Bow, 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 bow. I've got a word or two to say about the things that you do. You're telling no one's lies about the good things that we can have if we close our eyes. So do what you want to do and go where you're going to and think for yourself, 'cause I won't be there with you. You're telling no one's lies about the good things that we could have if we close our eyes. The future still looks good, and you've got time to rectify all the things that you should. So go where you're going to, bow, 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 and do what you're going to, and think for yourself, 'cause I won't be there with you. When George Harrison was interviewed, I think by Rolling Stone, and asked about this song and what it's about, his response was just, I don't know, the government maybe? I mean, what a perfect response to that question. It's so George Harrison. I mean, you think about these lyrics, and they could apply to the government. They could also apply to, a very mixed up romantic relationship or a friendship. Someone being frustrated by somebody else that they're dating who's just telling lies and can't think for themselves. But these lyrics also work well about politicians, and we know how around this time George Harrison is not a fan of politicians because on the next album, Revolver, he sings Taxman, where he's ranting and raving about the high percentage rates that he and the other Beatles had to pay as rich men for their taxes, which again is the ultimate irony of a very rich millionaire complaining about the tax system. But back to Rubber Soul right now. I just Think for Yourself has always been one of my favorite George Harrison pen Beatles songs, and I would dare say it's an underrated Beatles song, although it's weird to say underrated about any Beatles song, isn't it? But it's not on the top of the list. Most people have George Harrison pen Beatles songs, but this one is just, again, in '65 the Beatles only had one 3-minute long song, Ticket to Ride, and on this album, Rubber Soul, every song is so concise. There's not a single wasted second. It's not 3-4 minutes long. Nothing is wasted. Nothing meanders. It's just so perfect. And think for yourself. Just again, it could be a political song. It could be about romantic relationship, but the lyrics I just think are so wonderful and so clever and so cheeky and mischievous. And yeah, think for yourself is so cool. It's such a great, it's kind of, George Harrison loved Bob Dylan. And think for yourself is kind of like a Bob Dylan song. It's kind of like Positively 4th Street, the Bob Dylan song from that same sort of era, 65, 66, where he's basically telling off fans of his who didn't like him going electric. You've got a lot of nerve to say you were my friend when you weren't even where I was at, whatever he's singing. And it's kind of a similar vibe and a similar attack and critique in this George Harrison song, Think for Yourself. I just, yeah. I'm going to put myself on the back right there for that thought of comparing Harrison to Bob Dylan. This song is a lot like the Positively 4th Street song, in the lyrics anyway. And Yeah, then we get to another just absolutely perfect Beatles song with The Word. Starts off with this really cool organ, which is from George Martin, of course, on the harmonium. Say the word and be like me. Say the word and you'll be free. At the beginning, I misunderstood. But then I got it. The word is good. In the back pages of the old book. Spread the word and you'll be free. Say the word and be like me. It's so fine. It's sunshine. It's the word love. It's the word love. Now, this is the first Beatles song where they're seemingly singing about love, as in peace and harmony, global solidarity type of love, and not romantic love. And, it couldn't be a better song. There's no possible way that could be. And it couldn't be a more perfect song to be the first, like, peace and love Beatles song. It's just so perfect. Oh, it's kind of like, it's one of those Beatles songs that's really power pop. I think that's a term that was really wasn't coined until the late 70s or so. But this song definitely fits that genre of power pop, of just, I guess you could say power pop is like pop songs that really soar out of the speaker, so to speak. You know, say the word love, say the word love. In the beginning, I misunderstood, but now I've got it. The word is good. In the back pages of the olden book. Spread the word and be like me. Give the word a chance to sing. It's so fine. It's sunshine. It's the word love. It's the word love. Okay, now we get to the Grammy nominated Beatles song on this album. Yes, you may or might not have known that. A song on this album was nominated for a Grammy Award, and that's the song Michelle. And if memory serves me correctly, Michelle did not win the Grammy Award because Grammy Awards are stupid. And instead, the winner was Frank Sinatra, Strangers in the Night. Now, let me ask you, who remembers, which of these songs remembered more? Michelle or Strangers in the Night? Which of these songs gets more performances from cover bands out there in the world? Michelle or Strangers in the Night? The Grammy Awards are just so effing stupid. They almost always honor these artists who are who just have songs that are a passing fad. And I'm not saying Frank Sinatra is a passing fad, everything he's still remembered, but compare him to the Beatles and compare his song to the Beatles songs. Which ones are better? Which ones are remembered more by young and old people today? Which ones are you more going to hear if you go to a concert from a cover band? Anyway, to the song itself now. Now, when Paul was a young man, 14 years old, he got a friend named Ivan Vaughn, and he was the friend he had that introduced him to John Lennon, because Ivan Vaughn took Paul to the uh, to the feet, the party at St. Paul's Church where John Lennon and his band, the Quarrymen, were playing, and that's how Paul and John met. But Paul knew Ivan Vaughn before that, and Ivan Vaughn had a mother, or I should say a mum, as they say in the UK, who was a French teacher. And Paul wanted to learn French because in his mind that was how he would get girls to like him. And so for a long time he knew some French because of Ivan Vaughn's mom, and that's how they started to write the song. And it's because of the fact that they made this album in just about 2, maybe 3 months. I think it was just 2 months, that Paul had to dig back into his back pocket for songs he'd started years ago, and this is one of those songs. You know, it's it's in all French. Michelle, my belle, these are words that go together well. Okay, it's not all French. My Michelle, Sunday vont très bien, très bien. These are words that go together well. My Michelle, I love you, I love you, I love you. That's all I want to say until I find a way. Until then, I'll sing the only words I know that you understand. My Michelle, Sunday vont qui vont très bien ensemble, très bien ensemble. Now, the I love you, I love you, I love you part, that was John's contribution to the song. Of course, inspired by the song I Got a Spell on You. I think that was from, was it Marvin Gaye? No, it wasn't Marvin Gaye. I think it was Marvin Gaye. I put a spell on you. Okay, help me out here in the comment section. Who did I put a spell on you first? My mind is drawing a blank. But anyway, Michelle is of course an instant classic. Should have won the Grammy Award for Best Original Song, or Best Song, Best Record of the Year. Michelle is just it's amazing. It's a very sweet, tender love song, which of course transcends languages. Doesn't matter that half of it's in French. And yeah, Paul's played it live many times. It's on the 1993 live album called Paul is Live, which I have on my floor on I think it's on blue colored vinyl and yellow vinyl. I That album doesn't get that much love, but I adore it. So yeah, Michelle is a wonderful, beautiful song that should have won a Grammy Award. So take that, Frank. Take that. And then we flip the album over, and then it's side two. I don't know about you folks, but I just love the whole experience of listening to a vinyl record. It ends, and then the needle goes back, and then you gotta flip it over, and then the needle goes back on. It's a fun experience, is where it is. And then we get to the one song on the album that gives the lead vocal to Senor Ringo Starr, and that's what goes on. And the only song to be credited to Lennon, McCartney, and Richard Starsky. Ringo's birth name, of course, Richard Starkey, and of course Ringo has often said that he contributed just one line or so to the song. But hey, it's better than nothing, Ringo. It's better than nothing. What goes on? You are tearing me apart. What goes on in your mind? The other day I saw you as I walked along the road. And when I saw him with you, I could feel my heart explode. No, that can't be right. As I saw him with you, I could feel my heart explode. Did you mean to break my heart and watch me die? Tell me why. What goes on? What goes on in your mind? I really, really dig the country twang style guitar in the song from George Harrison. This album and also Beautiful Sale had George sounding very country on his guitar. I think it was the Gretsch guitar he was using. I'm no expert on guitars, but I'm just saying that. What goes on in your mind? The other day I saw you as I walked along the road, and when I saw him with you, I could feel my future fold. Did you mean to break my heart and watch me die? Tell me why. What goes on?